China is now the biggest contributor to global growth, and it's predicted to continue building up its output. The IMF says this trend is indefinite. Now, for more analysis, let's speak to New York-based economist Max Fradd-Wolf. Welcome to the program, Max. China's economy now tops America's, but only in that one main index, which is purchasing power parity. How significant is this?
So these are much more important symbolically than they are in terms of the macroeconomics. However, it is a watershed moment. Since the Second World War, the United States has always been the largest economy, either in absolute terms, which it will likely remain for several more years, or even in purchasing power parity terms, which it has another title that we held until probably sometime in the last few months. And that is if you adjust the Chinese GDP up meaningfully for the lower average prices in China, or adjust the US GDP down for the higher average prices here, we would see that the contribution all in with that adjustment would make China larger than the US. But China's been a larger contributor to global growth, not overall, but growth, for quite some time, given its very high growth rates on average the last 30 years, and our much, much lower growth rates of the last 30 years, not to mention the last several years, starting in the 2008 recession.
Yeah, and that contributor to global growth, the IMF predicts China to only get stronger with that. Does the US have a chance to reverse this trend in that particular one, do you believe?
Probably not in terms of the purchasing power parity basis. The United States will continue to be the largest economy in absolute terms, probably for at least another 5 or 6 years, although that too will eventually end. It is also worth remembering that there are literally 1 billion more people in China than the US, so it's only the sort of off and not equal distribution of global growth and global GDP that allows a country with 300 million people to be larger economically than a country with literally 1,300,000,000 people like China.
And of course, this leads on, of course, to the power of currencies, reliance and trust in the US dollar. It is waning every day by some accounts. Is the reverse currency torch about to be passed as well? That could be a major thing.
So eventually that is likely to happen. And the only thing we usually like to caution people is the US dollar has had a good run lately, although it's been under various forms of pressure really since the 1970s, with some moments of greater and lesser pressure. That being said, it's not necessarily the case that the US dollar will succumb to another single global reserve currency, say the renminbi of China or the euro or the yen or whatever we might discuss. It could be that the dominance of the dollar gives way to a period in which there are regionally dominant currencies, multiple regional dominant currencies, not a single replacement.
Just finally, back to China. Does having the title of the world's leading purchasing power parity nation make China now a lot more attractive to investors?
Well, I mean, I think China was already very attractive to investors. I don't think this will hurt. It will obviously help. I think for keeping the Chinese populace and Chinese firms excited and motivated and keeping folks around the world sort of very much bought into the idea that the destiny of China is to be the largest, most powerful economy in the world. Each of these milestones is symbolically important. It gives people excitement. It gives them something to work toward. It gives them a sense of achievement. In terms of the actual macroeconomic value of these milestones, that's kind of harder to establish.
Giving us opinion behind the figures, Max Fradd-Wolf, New York-based economist, thank you for joining us this hour.